welcome to Skholar IAS current hour classes. Hope you are all doing good. Hope your preparation is also going in good pace. I believe that this current affair classes will smoothen your process. So without any delay, we will get into the classes. Okay, students. The first article is on neutralizing antibodies. So this is an article from Indian Express paper, and this is related to your prelims exam. It has more relevance to your prelims exam than mains exam, and it can be related to current events section as well as general science. Okay, so that is why we are going to look at this article. There has been a new study, survey study. So this is zero survey study is nothing but it is related to testing of blood serum. Okay, so and in this study conducted, it was found that nearly 85% of the people infected with COVID have developed neutralizing antibodies. So this is what the news is about. Let's see what neutralizing antibodies are. Neutralizing antibodies are a type of protein. They are similar to other antibodies that actually fight the diseases. But the difference between neutralizing antibodies and other antibodies is that these are disease specific. Neutralizing antibodies are very disease specific, and it fights the particular disease that enters the human body. The nature of this is that it has the ability to block the entry of same virus in future. So even if you are infected now, you would have developed neutralizing antibodies, and these neutralizing antibodies would actually stop corona from entering again in future. So this is the difference between other antibodies and this antibody. Other antibodies naturally fight the virus only after the infection has actually happened. So now how long does this immunity last? If this neutralizing antibodies are developed in our body, how long does that give immunity to you? That's the question. Normally the longevity of immunity depends upon various factors, but one among that factor would be quantity of neutralizing antibodies being generated by that particular person. Okay, so if the quantity is high, then the chances of immunity or the longevity of the immunity would for a particular disease will also be higher. So these are directly proportional. But as I said, this is only one single factor based on which we cannot assume that only based on this we would be able to avoid or prevent corona from entering us in future. And also this antibodies, neutralizing antibodies, after released, it also decreases with time, and the rate of decrease also varies from person to person. It cannot be said as a uniform statement. No uniform statement can be given regarding the immunity of that neutralizing antibodies. See students, one important thing you will have to take into consideration here is from exam point of view is this point, this fourth point. So here it says neutralizing antibodies decrease with time, and rate of decrease also varies from person to person. A statement can be given in prelims exam saying that let's say this would be the statement that will be given to you. Neutralizing antibodies give longevity of immunity, long lasting immunity. True or false? That could be one thing. So the statement, we know now that it is not the right thing because it keeps decreasing with time and the rate of decrease also varies. So it is an incorrect statement. So you have to see the potential statement from these points. Okay, if immunity is not a long lasting thing, then which immunity lasts longer of all? So that's the question here. So basically the naturally acquired immunity, that is the immunity that we acquire after getting infected, that lasts for a minimum period compared to the immunity provided by a vaccine. So the vaccine generated immunity is better than the naturally acquired immunity. This is because the vaccine is designed to trigger a strong immune response. The naturally acquired immunity would be releasing a particular quantity, but if vaccine is given to you, it would release more quantity of neutralizing antibodies, so you will have a strong immune response. And this duration of immunity provided by vaccine for coronavirus is not known yet because the trials are going on. There is every country is doing many trials on many type of vaccines. So only after a proper vaccine is declared and once all the trials are conducted, then we would be able to know what the duration of a particular immunity is. It can be for an year or 6 months, or it can be even lifetime. Sometimes it would give lifetime, like polio vaccines. Okay, so this is it about neutralizing antibodies. Let's move on to the next. This is an article from the Hindu newspaper. This is related to your international relations, and within that India and its neighborhood relations. Okay, once you get into the article, you would understand why it is related to international relations. So students, this article is about construction of dams across Brahmaputra river. So before getting into the actual content, let's get a brief introduction about Brahmaputra river. So Brahmaputra is a perennial river. That is what? There is constant supply of water in this river throughout the year. That is the character of this. Some other perennial rivers are like Ganga, Yamuna. These are some of the other perennial rivers. So one peculiar characteristic about this Brahmaputra river is that it faces particular region faces two floods in a year normally. One would be in the summer season due to melting of Himalayan snow, and the second one would be due to monsoon rainfalls. So the flow increases and floods occur, and because of this there is frequent landslide, and the geological activity also keeps the river course changing. So these are the broad characteristics about Brahmaputra river. So recently China has begun constructing dams across Brahmaputra river. So this is a contention between India and China. This is raising some tensions between India and China. First, let's understand why China is intending to build dams across Brahmaputra river. So students, China's population, we know that China's population is too large. It's the number one in the world. So it has 20% of the world population, but it has only 7% of the water resources. So there is shortage of water resources already, and in addition to that, their existing surface and groundwater resources are severely polluted due to rapid industrialization. So this has forced them to use Brahmaputra river to channelize that water from flowing in on Brahmaputra river to their purpose. They have an ambitious plan of connecting north and south regions of the country through canals to ensure water security. And as a follow-up to this, they have actually blocked Mekong river. Mekong flows through China, and they have blocked it. So this has affected the Southeast Asian countries through which the Mekong rivers pass through. They are Thailand, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia. Students, you will have to remember this Mekong river. This is a potential prelims question. Mekong river passes through these four countries in addition to that China. Okay, a question can be asked about the countries through which Mekong passes through. So remember this particular point. So now let's see how construction of dams actually impact. So the first thing that would happen is degradation of the river basin, because the river normally carries silt with it, but when you construct dams across the river, the silt gets blocked, and this would lead to affect the quality of the fertility of the soil, and further it would affect the agriculture productivity itself. And the second thing is the Brahmaputra basin itself is a biological hotspot. It has many endangered flora and fauna in this region, but construction of dams would actually affect this habitat of these endangered flora and fauna. Okay, this would be the second dangerous impact. And third one is the Himalayas itself is a vulnerable place, because earthquakes and seismic activity keep happening in this region. So construction of dams would lead to man-made disaster. So that is why these would be the impacts of constructing dams across Himalayas. So what is the solution now? See, this issue is not just about the geography. It is a geopolitical issue itself. Both the countries are trying to solve the water crisis in their respective countries. So the solution is instead of having a larger construction of larger dams, you can have a decentralized network of check dams. This could be a solution. Also, some rain capturing lakes and ponds or traditional means of water capture can be constructed Both these would help actually the population as well as the ecology in a sustainable manner. Okay, so these are some of the constructive solutions that can sort out the water crisis issue in both the countries as well as the ecological issues. So the next article is on mRNA vaccine. This is an article from the Indian Express paper, and it is very important for your prelims exam. You have to read this from your prelims, from the perspective of prelims exam. Okay, first let me give you a brief introduction about mRNA. mRNA stands for messenger ribonucleic acid. So this messenger ribonucleic acid is useful for protein synthesis within a cell. What happens is this particular mRNA carries a genetic code from the DNA in the nucleus of the cell towards the ribosome. Ribosome is the protein synthesizing factory itself in a cell. So this is the role of mRNA. A US company actually has created a vaccine based on this particular mRNA technology, and they have found that it to be very effective, almost 94.5% effective. So what happens? This mRNA normally, when it is added to this vaccine and when it is injected, it gives an instruction to the cells to produce a particular type of protein. And in this scenario, the mRNA in the cells would create spike protein similar to that in COVID. And once these spike proteins are created, the other cells would start to replicate these spikes. And in this scenario, once this vaccine is injected in your body, and when this spike proteins starts, the copies of spike proteins start creating, the immune cells would be prompted to create antibodies. So basically what is happening? The mRNA vaccine is imitating COVID. It is imitating as if the virus has entered into the body and prompting the immune cells to create antibodies to fight against it. So the antibodies are created, developed in your body already, and once the real COVID infects your body, it would fight it. So it's like prevention. Once this vaccine is injected, it would have the capacity to develop the antibodies naturally in your body, and that would fight the actual corona. So in relation to this, there is another term that you will have to know about, that is adenovirus. So a vaccine developed based on the technology of a weakened version of common cold. Okay, remember this weakened version of common cold virus is known as adenovirus vaccine. So this vaccine carries the code to make spike proteins like a Trojan horse. What happens? This adenovirus that has been genetically modified will replicate in humans. Once it is injected, it will start replicating in humans, and this would indicate to release spike proteins in the body. And once the immune system recognizes this spike protein as a harmful foreign body, it would start building up antibodies against it. Using this technology, if a vaccine is created, that is called as adenovirus vaccine. So students, this image would give you an understanding about how mRNA vaccine actually works. First, an mRNA sequence is generated that actually would instruct the cells to create spike proteins. Such an mRNA sequence is first generated by a scientist, and this mRNA is given a liquid coating so that it can be injected as a vaccine into us. And once this is injected, the other cells would get instruction from the mRNA that has been injected to create copies of spike proteins. And once these spike proteins starts developing in our system, the immune system in our body would start producing antibodies. These antibodies would actually protect us from real virus that would enter our body. So this is how the whole mRNA vaccine works. So students, remember that this mRNA vaccine has to be read in relation with the neutralizing antibodies article as well, so that you get a better understanding of the whole aspect of antibodies. Okay. So students, we have come to the end of this session. Hope you all enjoy the class. We will meet in the next class. See you. Happy learning. Bye bye.